As some of you know, I was on the South Sea Wealth Coaches podcast with Lisa, and now she is on ours at No BS Wealth. And it's around the holiday season, so we're going to get real with you. Very, very real about our industry. But first, we want to introduce her, let her tell her story and what she does for you, lovely listeners. But then we're getting in some down and dirty stuff about our industry and how you can help yourself, but how a team like us can help you as well. So without further ado, Lisa with Sassy Wealth Coach, introduce yourself a little bit.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on the show too. And your show, you being on mine on Cash Sass podcast, that was actually one of the best episodes. So I'm really excited about it. Yeah, my name is Lisa Marie. I am the Sassy Wealth Queen, the brains behind the Sassy Wealth Coach, and of course my podcast, Cash and Sass. And I am a fractional CFO and wealth coach. And basically what that means is I work with women entrepreneurs, excuse me, on their money mindset and their management so that they can grow from that 225, 250 mark in their business to going into the seven figures. And a lot of times entrepreneurs will have a fractional CFO because they don't believe that they should have one, or they're not at a point to have one. And honestly, once you get past that 400, 500 mark, if you don't have one, you're losing money because of the fact that a fractional CFO can help you create a plan, a money roadmap. It's so that not only do you know what's going on with your numbers, but you're also able to plan for the things that you want, to invest in coaches, to take those trips, whatever it may be, because it's all done together, and you know what's going on with your money. So then, you're able to, now I can go and work with Stoy as a financial planner to make these other types of things and plan further out. And my clients have found that they needed a financial planner once we got to a certain point of what we did, because now their wealth was being retained so much, they could now go and expand it. Whereas before they didn't know what was going on with it. And that's, what I do. I work with women because there's always been this taboo with women and money. And my mission in life is to kick it to the curb. And I want women to realize that whether you come from wealth or not doesn't mean you can't have it, because I didn't come from it. I'm broken home, food stamps, barely making ends meet, barely able to put food on the table for my kids, to having my business, which, by the way, by the time this airs, I'll already be there, but we're recording it a little bit early. So I'm going to go ahead and say it. In a day, it'll be 8 years. So that I've had my business. So, and I've stuck it through even when times got tough. And I think that's the key, right? And we have the people. And if people that you hire don't have their own coaches or own people on their team to help them with certain things, I swear you should turn around and run. But that's me in a nutshell.
Yeah. Well, I love it. And I love that transparency. Kind of what this wasn't on my list of things to talk about, but I'm going to go into it anyway, because, that's what we do. You had brought up, you work with women a lot. There's a lot of different emotions and things that women have that men don't. 2025 on this podcast, because you're going to be the last episode of 2024 before we get into our 12 days of giving. And it's a transition into what we're doing in 2025. So in 2025, I am only exclusively having female business owners on the podcast, specifically talk obviously about their business. That's what part of it's for.
Yeah.
But the others to dive deeper into kind of those emotions of highs, lows, and differences. Because I know, since I work with men, mainly women and minorities, that we have this pre-built connotation or notion about ourselves from society that's been driven in upon us since the beginning of time, right? With education, history of voting, you name it. We've always been reduced down. And so I love that you brought that up. I wanted everyone to know that's kind of where we're going with our focus. But I wanted to ask you this question I'm going to ask everyone is, from an emotional standpoint, what have you noticed being a business owner starting out and surviving for 8 years? Because everyone thinks that business is always successful. It's survival. Um, what have you gone through emotionally, specifically being a woman, and all the other things that you have to deal with?
That's a good question. I'm first going to hit on the fact that if you think having a business is easy, you're in for a rude awakening. Um, my 7th year was as hard as my first, and it was barely surviving. I'm honest. I tell people it has survived. I'm going to be 8 years, and it survived because I had the tools and because I had coaches, and I was able to strategically use debt, leverage it, whatever, to help, right? To help me get to that point. And so that's really, truly just really important, because if you don't have that capacity or have that knowledge, you're gonna want to just run away and quit. Emotionally, wow, the first year I thought I was insane. I was told I was crazy. I was told to go get a real job, a more secured job, even though I'd made it through 7 layoffs and then was laid off. So I'm not quite sure how secured that was. Um, it was a roller coaster. Emotionally, I went through a lot of, can I do this, to I can, to I didn't make the best decisions, and I made the decisions based off of what I knew at the time, which is one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about what I do, which is one of the reasons why I love what you do, because when I started, those people like us weren't as out there as they are now, talking about money. The coaches that were out there when I started were the ones who swore if you were serious, then you were going to spend your last dime on a coach. You weren't going to worry about putting food on the table for your kids. Dude, I got news for you. My kids come first. And they would tell you you're not serious. A lot of the coaches out there, I don't want to say predominantly men, but those are the ones you saw a lot more of. And the women that you saw, they were very successful, but they had that same mentality of, if you're serious, you'll do it this way, which means you'll go and borrow money, or you'll max out a credit card, or you'll spend your last dime, and you'll make it. You know you're going to make it back because you're going to sit and manifest it. And I don't believe in non-active manifestation. I do believe what we focus on, we create more of. But I also believe in the action. And so, emotionally, what I learned was, in order to survive on those tough times and then thrive, I needed to be able to, one, take care of me physically and mentally. And 2, I needed to learn tools that could help me not stay in that scarcity mindset when it pops up, because it's going to pop up. It's popped up a lot this year, popped up a lot the first 2 years, and having those tools, and having a coach, and them reminding me of the tools, and even saying, hey, Lisa, how about let's try this new tool, and you know what, okay, I can do this with some deep breathing and just center myself, because I only have 3 minutes, and it brings me back to being grounded, so I don't stay in that scarcity mentality. And I think that that's just really, really important. And that's one of the, honestly, I will say that's what's helped me get through, and move through and process and just, keep going, when things have gotten so tough.
Predominantly, women are more complex, want to plan, they want to protect their future because of usually just their nurturing standpoint, right? The purely genetics situation. Whereas men, we're big dumb idiots. We'll figure it out, or we won't. We'll just keep pounding our head against the wall. With that in mind, how big, when you work with clients, and I know this is for me, and I'll let you answer it first though, but the key of starting this whole journey with one of us, right, or both of us, how big is that step from being disorganized and then getting organized with us?
Oh, it's huge. I mean, women, yes, have that nurturing thing, What stops them, though, is the fear of being judged, the fear of being told they can't do it, or they have that belief of they've screwed up. And you're going to then tell them that. Again, they're going to be judged. You're going to look at them and go, oh, gosh, I can't believe you did this. And one of the things that I do, and again, it's on my website, it's what I tell my clients, there is no judgment. One, I have no place to judge. Go read my bio. I promise I have no room to judge. And I think that's one of the things that makes me good at what I do, because I know I've been there. You've been there, right? You're from a minority. You understand. And when we understand and we can reach them at their level and, say it's okay where you're at, we're going to start where you're at. And when we tell them that, where there's so many other money coaches, wealth coaches, CFOs, financial planners even, that want to try and start them here, when honestly they're here. And when we start them from here and we're able to show them step by step and work and get there, the clarity that they get, it's like night and day, right? I mean, I have a client who just got to a point to where she's like, holy crap, I'm making more than I made last year. And she one time was feeling like she wasn't making as much. She goes, and Lisa, it's working then. And I wanted her to tell me what she was noticing, because I'd been saying it. She goes, I'm not working as many hours. I'm like, and yes, it took some time and it took some tweaking, but now she's working less hours and she's making slightly more than what she made last year. Is she where she wants to be yet? No. And she's still getting that time freedom, though, which was really important because she has special need kids. And so it's that time freedom for her was so much of a stress factor that it was causing her to just not look at the money, right? And, there were expenses that I had her, we did deep dive into her personal, and we made a list because we'd already worked on her business. And I had to backtrack, and I said, I apologize. I knew I shouldn't have gave you more than a couple of things because she's ADHD adult. And I was like, so let's do this. I only want you to do this one thing. Go to the gym and cancel that membership. And if your husband says he wants the membership, then because he hadn't been in 2 years, then you tell him to go put it on his credit card. 2 days later, we picked the day she was going to do it. And 2 days later, she messaged me and said, done. It was $220 a month. Done. No more. She was like, holy crap. I was like, now will you please? And she went to go start apologizing. It's like, don't apologize to me. No, This is celebration. Doesn't matter how long it took. It's the fact that you went and did it. Celebrate. Because that was money going down the drain that you weren't using. Now we have some smaller expenses. The next one is something for our kids that is not being used anymore. So we found the phone number together. She's calling, she's canceling that. That'll be $68 a month. The key is being able to have someone help you, especially if it overwhelms you. And it overwhelms so many women. And there's some men that it overwhelms. Some men and women are just like, I'm not going to worry about it. I'll just go make more money. And if they're not able to make more money, or they're making more money, they're not understanding why they're making more money, but they're still broke. 9 out of 10 times you've got money leak.
Yeah.
And it's huge. I've had so many clients tell me, I don't know why I waited so long. And I tell them, I do. You were scared. And I understand that. I understand that so many women are like, even men, why do I need a financial planner? Why do I need a fractional CFO? Do you mind having money go down the drain? I don't know about you, but even owning a business is still, it's hard work at times, even if we love it. I don't want my money going down a drain.
No.
That's the reason why I review my expenses.
Right. So I'm a planner. You're a coach. You're a fractional CFO. We also have CFO services. a lot of people get caught up on titles and things that are going on in our industry, in and out our industry. I have way more regulations than you do because
Yes,
of
you
all
do.
my licenses, which is good, bad, and indifferent, by the way. Let's go down this path and talk about the differences or just talk about them in general, because I think it just depends on the program. They all can do the same thing if done right. Let's start with, why do you not have your licenses and wanted to go the regulatory route like I did? And what are some things that you just don't want to touch that obviously someone with a license?
I've been asked this question many times. Same reason I was asked why I didn't go down that road and get this financial planner. Why didn't I go get a CPA? Take the license to become a CPA, because I have an accounting degree. I have background in accounting. I can do accounting. I can do it all. And why didn't you go and get your CPA? Well, one, I hate taking tests.
Fair. It's valid.
There are some people in this world that are very, very smart who are not good at taking tests. And it took me a very long time for me to realize that just because I wasn't good at taking tests didn't mean I wasn't smart. I am not good at taking tests. And I'm okay with that. I am a hands-on learner. And I'm good. And I know that. And it's taken a long time for me to actually, say that out loud for the world to hear. One of the reasons why I tell people all the time, that's the reason why I didn't do the CPA. And they'll say, well, what's the difference between you and a CPA? I said, they went and took the test, so therefore they can charge $400 to $800 an hour. And I don't. And I don't do taxes anymore. I did that my first year, and it way too stressful. The laws change at the last minute. And I don't like last minute changes. And, you would take the continuing education, and then right before tax season started, guess what? They changed the law. So now what you're doing is you're scrambling to learn the stuff, and you not necessarily may be able to, quote unquote, have the continuing education to understand it even more. And I just determined it wasn't for me. Am I able to do it if I wanted to? Yes, as long as I went back and started doing the continuing education. And that's not something I'm going to touch. There are many CPAs, there are many enrolled agents that I know that are good at what they do. I have an enrolled agent on my team who, when I say on my team, she's mine. I refer people to her. She's also my tax planner. So I got to a certain point in my income, how I was talking about a certain point in income, you should have a CFO, and then getting in a financial planner. Well, to me, the tax advisor came before those other two, because those are things that are going to help me determine, tax-wise. So I wanted to be able to not only have her to do my taxes, but I wanted her access to her yearly for that, all year for the planning, right? And so the financial planner part, when I took financial accounting, I'm just going to be honest. I think I told you the story in ours, right? I think I told you, it made my brain hurt. I'm good at what I do. But that financial accounting class made my brain hurt. And they're like, oh, now if you do this and you do great, then you can go and take these other financial and go and get. No.
No.
No. And at that time, I was already a CFO / auditor at the place I was working. I audited their trust accounts. So these are big, huge bank accounts. And I was their fractional officer, and I was doing that stuff, and come to find out I was actually doing fractional CFO work, but they weren't actually giving me the title of CFO. I didn't realize until a few years in that I was actually doing CFO work, but the title they were giving me was different. And because I'd never done it before, right? Everything was hands-on learning. I started off with the billing specialist and then went to their auditor and then started auditing their trust accounts. And they were saying, go get the accounting degree and we'll be able to give you more money. We're not going to get into that, but that wasn't true. However, that's when I started realizing, wait, I'm actually doing CFO work. I'm already learning it hands-on. You're just not calling it that, and you're not paying me for it. And, okay, do I want to become a certified financial planner? Do I want to, some certified financial planners can help you do life insurance, can help you do those things if they're licensed and all. Do I want to go down that road? And the answer is no. Long time ago, many years ago, I was licensed to sell insurance in South Carolina. I had to get licensed so that I could work for the company I was working for that sold insurance. I had no business being licensed. Okay. Not because I couldn't learn it, but basically you took the test, you became licensed. There was no requirement back then. And I'm 51, so I'm talking about I was in my 20s. There was no requirement for you to actually have knowledge of what you were selling. And that didn't sit right with me. So I decided, I started talking to some people that were financial planners, and I saw what they did and the knowledge that you have and the license, the rules and the regulations. And I'll be honest, I don't like rules and regulations all that much. So that was another reason that I was like, okay, I can do this CFO work. I can do this, and then I can refer them to people who can help them do the financial planning with the 10, 15, 20 years down the road and do the investments and the life insurance. I can refer them to people who know it and are good at it, and I can do this. Okay, that's what I'm going to do. That way I don't have to worry about. Now, there are some coaches who will, unfortunately, they give me, a CFO and a wealth coach, a bad name because they will act like they can give you financial planning advice. And by law, they can't. But they act like because they're not the financial planner and they don't have those rules, then they don't have to worry about it. And actually, you can still be reported and you can get in trouble. And so, I tell people all the time, look, if you start asking me questions that I'm not sure of and I know is not in my wheelhouse, I'm going to tell you, hey, let me refer you to some people. They can tell you, I can help you with this. This is where they come in. I'm not going to try and give you advice that I don't know. And I think that's the difference. Yes, you have that CFO services, right? And if they're wanting that financial planning CFO all at the same time, and they're at that spot, then great, right? But some people may want to be able to, and my CFO services start with the mindset first, because I believe that if we don't make sure that mindset is where it needs to be, then all the work we do isn't going to stick. And I do that at the same time. That's hence why that wealth coach comes in, is because while I'm starting that CFO services, we're going to work on your mindset. You may not realize it, but we're going to work on it, because you have to have a good relationship with money in order for the work, even for the work that you do, for the CFO and the financial planning, for it to work and for you to show what you want and be able to go towards those goals, right? You have to have, I tell people, how would you treat your dance partner? How would you treat someone that you love? And they're like, I would dance with them and I treat them with respect. Okay, well then do the same thing with your money.
Yes. Yes, please, people. Like, honestly, please. And what you do and what I do, I'm attacking our industry different. I think our entire everything that deals with this industry is shifting more towards a hybrid of what you and I do. I'm deeming it a modern family office, for lack of a better term, but my CFO services are slightly different than yours, from the fact of you're doing, the bookkeeping, you're in the books and progressing it out. Mine's more high level, letting someone else do that. You're doing wealth coaching stuff, talking about mindset. I start in the same exact scenario, right? I can do a little more things on the back end with investments, insurance, and all that other stuff that we both can come up with a plan. We just make sure it's implemented, right? Where
Right,
then you
right.
can focus more on the mindset stuff, and you can say things that I cannot say, right?
Like I said,
Because
there's
big bad
rules and
compliance
there's
decides
rules
that.
and regulations that
It's
you know,
those damn
and here's
rules
the
and regs.
and I don't always work in the books. I do require to have access to them
Yeah.
because I believe, especially with the business, because I believe that they're part of it. Um, because that's going to help me determine, okay, where are you at? But I believe I create this money roadmap. I do it in Google Sheets and everybody loves it. But I have this money roadmap where I put all of it together where there are all these different tabs and it just all works cohesively together. And we create a plan that's aligned with their values, their goals, and their desires. And so often, they think, well, I've got a CPA, I've got a bookkeeper. Why do I need a CFO? Well, because they're not actually going to help you plan the way I do or the way the Story does. I'm going in and I'm creating a plan so that you're able to take the vacation you want and you have the money set aside so that you've got an account that is just for your tax savings so that when your CPA comes and said, hey, you've made such and such more money, you now have $70,000 that you owe. You're not, excuse my French, shitting bricks because you had a CFO. No worries. I got 85,000 in that tax savings because she and I made sure that was being done.
Let's hit
Because
that.
the CFO is going to be able to see that your money is going up and, hey, we need to start putting more money into this tax savings account. Whereas you're doing what you love and your bookkeeper is keeping the books. But at the end, they're not going to say, this month it went up by 30-something $1,000. We need to put money up because by the time it's the net, it's gone anyway. Most of the time it's spent. So you didn't put as much as money up into the tax savings as you should have.
Yeah, and let's nail these positions. So bookkeeper, all they're doing is organizing, making sure your books are good. Their job is
And
not
I
to
do have
forecast.
bookkeepers on staff, but that's all they're doing
Correct.
is organizing your books.
Their job is not to look forward or in the past or read the financials to see what's going on. Their job is to make sure it's organized and reconciled out. Your CPA or EA that does just tax returns, job is to collect the information that is given to report it for taxes.
And
Your
even
EA,
the ones
CPA
who
that does
say they
tax,
can help you plan, they don't
yeah,
plan like we do.
correct. Your
There's this
your
tax
CPA and
planning.
EAs that do tax planning throughout the
Right.
year are able to take the information that they get from the CFO and start to build together a tax strategy to benefit you both now and in the future. Your CFO is the best of all of that because they're seeing forward a lot further than you can think. They're looking back on adjustments and are able to make those adjustments on the fly. Whereas you, owner, your job is to make the income and operate the business.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the roles. And I think a lot of people get mixed up of, I have a CPA, so I have a CFO. Or I have a bookkeeper, so I have a CFO. And those are so drastically different that it's not even funny.
And the
And
other
yes,
key
do you
thing
need to
with
pay them? Yes, you do. Go ahead.
yes, well, yeah, you got to pay them. We don't work for free. But the other thing that a CFO is good for, and I think that this is really important, is when life happens, you have someone who you can go to and say, oh, for a perfect example, I have a client who just bought a building and she had tenants, she was leasing it out, but her practice is going to end up taking over that, right? No problem. We had a plan in place. However, they realized when they started to do the expansion on this part that they have serious mold damage. Okay. On our next call, Lisa, this is what's going on. This is what I'm thinking. This is looks like what it's going to cost. Give me your thoughts. She wants to talk. She has someone to talk it through with who, again, I use the analogy of not being inside the pickle jar because when you're the owner, I don't like pickles. So that's why I use that analogy. But imagine even a mud on the windshield. So, when you're in it and life happens, mud's thrown at the windshield, or my analogy, you're inside a pickle jar, nasty pickle juice all wrapped around. You can't see to the outside. CFO can come in, wipe the mud off, or they're looking on the outside of the pickle jar, they can see all the way around and they can say, okay, we can do this. We're good here because what I'm going to do is say you have a business line of credit and we haven't used it. Guess what? This is what this is for. We're going to use it to take care of this $15,000, $20,000 mold damage that's got to be done, that's got to be fixed. Then we're going to put a plan into place so that we can make sure it's paid, right? As she starts adding more employees to start growing. And so, use an online-based entrepreneur. Hey, perfect example. It had a client who she found out she was pregnant. She'd been trying. She didn't know. Okay, I need to make sure, I have me and 2 team people, but they're not employees. I need to make sure I have things in place so that I'm able to do the maternity. So your CFO is going to be able to help you navigate, look at the current money, navigate it, and help you put a plan in place so that you can do these things and your business still keeps growing so that you're staying aligned with your values. Whereas your CPA, again, and your enrolled agent, they're the tax planner part. They can tell you tax-wise and go out. The CFO is going to be able to look and help you get you here. And then, which leads you to that financial planning and the investments.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I think we've done a good job explaining all of that. Now let's attack some of these coaches and personal finance gurus and influencers that we see all over TikTok and Instagram and Facebook and all those places. I get really frustrated and upset at the simple fact of, we'll just take our conversation literally that we're doing right now, has a lot more legitimate points backed by education, experience, law, etc. Also held to compliance and regulatory bodies, that we're having this conversation, right? And giving them a lot of great things. Whereas this same conversation could be flipped and spun for a high view count for someone else, and they'll get 1 million hits. And I guarantee we won't get near that, right? So I get very frustrated in whether it's the algorithm or just people in general of always following these influencers based upon this hot thing that they say that they can't back up, that they probably can't even do legally or not legally, just for views. Now I obviously get off that a little bit, but what I'm saying is I do not understand in our world today why people would take advice from that as opposed to us. What have you found from the clients that have come to you that they picked you over any of those influencers? Or have you even had any that were like, I listened to Joe Blow over here, what should I do?
I've had, okay. I agree with you on the TikTok, the Instagram, and all those things. And the reason why I got frustrated the other day, because I heard one and I was like, you have nothing to back that. And yet, how many people are going to click this and get this freebie because, and here's the key, this is why, because they're wanting an easy way. Because so often, and I know exactly, I mean, we may not be looking at the same ones, but I know exactly the kind you're talking about. And it's because they make it, the things that they can't back, they make it sound like it's going to happen in a snap of the fingers and overnight. And one thing that I will not do is I won't pussyfoot around and I won't lie to you. And because I have integrity. And the reason why is because you didn't get in this mess or in this position or whatever it is you're calling it in your head overnight. Therefore, it is not going to get fixed or be better or get better or whatever overnight. Can it be done? Absolutely. I am living proof. I was on food stamps. I was barely able to make ends meet. I made changes. I hired coaches. Yes, it can happen. And I didn't get here overnight. This is 8 years in the making. My mindset is 8 years in the making, and I'm still a work in progress, and I have a mindset coach. Still, I work with you on your money mindset, and I still have a coach to help me keep working on my mindset. And the reason why is because I have this saying, every new level brings a new devil.
I like that.
Meaning shit's going to happen.
Correct. Always.
Go and look. I don't care if it's personal or business. Go back and look. Every time there was an up level, every time you had a new up level, tell me there wasn't some kind of shit that hit the fan right before the level. Somebody said that to me, and that phrase has stuck in my head, and it's been my new favorite one because they're right. I went back and literally went back and looked, and I'm like, holy crap, they're right. People want the easy way. They don't want to do the hard work. And unfortunately, it doesn't necessarily have to be hard work. However, you have to be willing to do the changes and make the work and work with someone. And if you're not, then none of it's going to work. And those people who are making it sound easy and overnight and snap of the fingers, all they're going to be doing is taking your money.
100%. Because if they were so good at what they're teaching you, they would have the businesses doing it, and they wouldn't be trying to sell you books or courses or whatever. That is a revenue model.
Pay $8 to become a money coach.
Correct. Yep. Exactly.
I may not have had to have a certification. I can guarantee you that I have spent more than $8 to be able to say that I'm a wealth coach and a CFO. I do take continuing education. I do hire coaches. I do the work. I may not be required to have, the regulations and the continuing educations that's required for financial planners and CPAs. But I also didn't go and pay $8 to become a money coach, wealth coach, or a CFO. And I'm like, no, because if you were truly that, you would be telling people, one, I guarantee you, ask them. Actually, here's the thing, you know what? And this is something we should be able to do, Stoy. If they come up and they say, well, this person says they can do this, and this is how, okay, I want you to do me a favor. I want you to go ask them. Did it happen for them in one night? Did it happen for them in 2 nights? Were they able to get from point A to point B in 2 nights? And I guarantee you they're not going to be able to say yes and provide the proof of it. It's just like these coaches who say, I make 7 figures while I'm sleeping. They make it sound like you decide you want 7 figures and you go to sleep and the machine is automating, and they didn't put any work in. And these people are then going and investing in them, and you're paying, I don't know, $5K, $10K, $15K. Newsflash, how they're making their 7 figures sleeping is you're paying them that kind of money. But that's not where they got overnight. They had to put in the work, and I guarantee you they did not start off at the 6-figure mark. Nobody did.
No, I mean, and the stats are out there, right? The top 1% of Americans make $150,000.
I know. I found out that I was considered a top 1%, especially in females.
Badass,
and I'm actually considered top 0.5% for females in the entrepreneurship. And I was like, top 0.5%. And my coach, Elope, told me, he's like, you do not realize you're in the top 0.5%. And I was like, what? He's like, top 0.5%, woman. And I'm like,
that means you're better than 99.5% of other people, right? Well, you don't feel that way. And my damn bank account don't always feel that way either, but people need to recognize that.
My account doesn't always feel crap.
Correct. It's crazy. It is absolutely crazy with those stats, yet people think that it's flipped, right? Everyone's in the 90%. Everyone's making hundreds of thousands of dollars, and it's such a small number. And for those people, and I always want to comment, but I don't want to go down those rabbit holes too often, but you do not make 7 figures overnight. There is less than 0.1% of the top 1%, right? That even comes close to doing that overnight. And they have been around and usually are old because they have built something over 40 years, and they're billionaires and trillionaires. Okay.
And 9
So,
out of 10 times, how they're getting that money is residual
correct.
from somebody else doing all the work because they're done doing the work and that's how they're doing it. And the same thing goes with, there's coaches out here who'll say, I'm a 7-figure coach. Just because you make 7 figures doesn't necessarily mean you're a 7-figure coach. There are people out here saying that they're a 7-figure coach, yet they're not paying the people they've hired. That's because, I'm going to say it, they don't know what the hell's going on with their money. And they're spending it faster than they're getting it. And they're just like, oh, I'll just go make more money. And because I brought in gross, close to it, or over 2 years, a lot of times this is what I have found. One of the coaches that was going to be a client of mine, she was telling me she was 7 figures. She was carrying the 7 figures from the time she started to that year.
That's not how that works.
Well, I know that.
Like,
because if that's the case, I'm an 8-figure coach, okay?
Right.
I mean, and I'm
Right.
making 6 figures, so you start adding that shit up. I'm close
Right.
to being an 8-figure coach. She didn't work with me, needless to say, because I called her out on it. Again, it's integrity. No, you don't add the last 3 years together to say that you're a 7-figure coach, and that is what some people are doing. You don't add from the time you start to the current year. 2024, I'm a 7-figure coach because you added the last 7 years together. No. I mean, and there's financial planners that do it too.
Oh yeah.
They may do it slightly different because of the rules and regulations, but they do it.
Mm-hmm.
And they're lying through those pearly white teeth of theirs. And I get annoyed because people are like, oh, well, I don't want to work with you. You're not making 7 figures. Well, okay, but do you have proof that they're making 7 figures?
Right.
Well, they
and
said
also
they
7
are.
figures, that's like the top 10th of America. Okay, let's be real. Like, that is 99.9%, Kyle. Like, that is all the way up.
My goal gross is to get to 7 figures. That is my goal.
That's a really good gross
net
goal.
goal is to get where my net is over 6 figures. That is my big goal. My first goal is to get to that 500 mark in my business, okay, to be at $500,000. That's a huge goal, and that's going to put me even higher in that top 5. But I'm also not going to lie to you at the same time and tell you I'm there or I'm making 7 figures when I'm not.
Only if we had the last 7 years. So big deal. But as we wrap this up, we always end the episode with one question to you, and then tell the audience what they need to do next. So, question to you is, from this episode, from you, what is one item, idea, whatever topic, doesn't matter, that you can give our listeners that will help them take this next step on their journey? Because wherever they're at, this next step is the most important.
And that's simple. That the easiest thing. It's a simple step, and yet it'll be difficult for some. But it is to sit down and get real with your numbers. And how you can do that very easily. Please don't go download no budget. That's another conversation for another day. But don't go do it that way. Just get a piece of paper out. Write down, if you're doing it for your business, just for your business. If you're doing it for your personal, whichever. But write down, look at your bank account. Write down your expenses. I don't mean, at first, I do not mean the gas and the groceries. That's not what I'm talking about. I want the monthly recurring, I'm sounding like they're going to be sending it to me. That's the way.
Because they are.
Right? That's my brain. If you go and you write it down, or if you're great at spreadsheets, pull up a spreadsheet and use a spreadsheet template for it. But you just want who it's paid to, the amount, and when it's due. Get all of it in one so that you can see it. Then go and do one for your yearly, semi-annually, the same thing, right? because those don't go in that monthly part. But you need to be able to see where your money is going. Then you can go and average out your gas and your groceries. But you've got to really be true on where your money's going. And when you do the groceries and the out to eat, I tell you to go and pull 3 months. And I say go and highlight all the Starbucks and the out to eat, because I guarantee you you're spending more money than you think you are. I will bet money on it. Every time. I joke that there's a good thing that Dutch Brothers does not exist in South Carolina. I would have to be putting myself on a gift card spending limit and only treating myself every once in a while. But luckily for me, the closest one is 7 hours or 6.5 hours away in Tennessee. So I don't get one every now and then as often as, and I don't like Starbucks. So I don't like coffee except for the thing I get at Dutch Brothers, and that's because it doesn't taste like coffee. But I digress. The biggest thing is being, and I'm not saying know how much you're spending so you can stop it altogether. That's not what I'm talking about. You need to know. And if you find, crap, I'm spending $500 or $600 or say $1,000 a month on out to eat, and then I'm still spending whatever on groceries, I don't want to be spending that. Now you've got the knowledge, you've got the information on what you can do. And if you're noticing you're spending a chunk at Starbucks, okay, how often am I going there? Knowledge is power. And that power gives you empowerment, because you are then able to make decisions. If you still want to spend it and you can, great. If you don't, now you've got the information to change. And any good CFO is going to want that information anyway, so that they can help you. They'll dig deeper, because I do. And that's the start of it. But that's the first key. Is a lot of times when you go to list those monthly recurring expenses, I'll say 3 out of 10 of you, and I'm being nice when I say 3 out of 10, at least 3 out of 10 of you will find a monthly recurring expense that you forgot about or you're no longer using. And it'll be anywhere from $25 to $75 a month, which is money going down the drain. Once you write it down, yeah, I'm not using that anymore. I didn't realize that was coming out. You circle it and you go and cancel it.
So write it down. Get a pen and paper.
Write it down.
Write down your reoccurring. That is the next step that you need to do from this conversation.
Mm-hmm. And it's a big thing, because it gives you, the first time I did it and I realized that I had reoccurring expenses that I forgot about, it was very empowering to make those phone calls and cancel those. And then I added them up and I'm like, okay, this is how much I've saved a month. And they're like, oh yeah, but it's $10. Okay, but 10 times 12 is 120. 10 times 24 is 240. Do you think you've got somewhere you could put $240 instead of paying somebody for something you're not using?
Absolutely. And by the way, take that first step. If you're not ready for that step, reach out to us. Okay.
Oh,
I say this
absolutely.
every episode, like, share, comment, and all that subscribe crap, not for the algorithm, but to reach out to us, DM us, comment. I know for sure we're both going to be out there commenting. And so if you need us, we're there for you. If you want to take the step further, go ahead and go to our websites. They'll be in the description, all that other crap in there. But I know that us two specifically are out there on socials, ready to have a conversation with you, no matter where you're at in your situation, to guide you in the real way and not that BS that you're seeing on TikTok. So without further ado, Lisa, always amazing. And we're going to have to dive into a whole budget episode, because I wanted to say a lot of words.
I've already think I've come up with like 4 more that we
see, so maybe it's just a whole series we do next year.
But yeah, I mean,
you reach out.
You reach out on my website. You can find me on social media. I'm very easy to find. Pink hair, can't miss me. And when I say, if you're not ready to work with someone, that is something you can do to get the empowerment. If you find yourself overwhelmed and you're like, you know what? Okay, I could reach out. reach out to someone, me or Stoic, and let us help you. You can always reach out to me in my DMs. I know Stoic's the same way because I message him all the time sometimes. So, it's, and that's what we're here for. We want to answer those things. We want to, whether it's in the comments, you ask questions, because when you ask questions, again, knowledge is power. So when you're asking questions and being curious, you're getting the information.
And it's free when we do it that way. Come on, people.
I
We're not going to
know,
charge you.
right?
How are we going to charge you on social media? Well, I appreciate you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. I enjoyed it.
Was sponsored by Black Mammoth. Any awards, rankings, or recognition by unaffiliated third parties or publications are in no way indicative of the advisor's future performance or any individual client's investment success. No award, ranking, or recognition should be construed as a current or past endorsement of Black Mammoth. Information regarding specific awards, rankings, or recognitions is available on the Black Mammoth website, www.blackmammoth.com. All investment strategies have the potential for profit or loss. Investment strategies such as asset allocation, diversification, or rebalancing do not assure or guarantee better performance and cannot eliminate the risk of investment losses. There are no guarantees that a portfolio employing these or any other strategy will outperform a portfolio that does not engage in such strategies. This broadcast should not be construed by any client or prospective client as a solicitation to effect or attempt to effect transactions and securities or the rendering of personalized investment advice due to various factors including changing market conditions. The information discussed in this broadcast may no longer be reflective of current positions or recommendations. While information presented is believed to be factual and up-to-date, Black Mammoth do not guarantee its accuracy, and it should not be regarded as a complete analysis of the subjects discussed. The tax and estate planning information discussed is general in nature and is provided for informational purposes only and should not be construed as legal or tax advice. Listeners should consult an attorney or tax professional regarding their specific legal or tax situation. Past performance is not indicative of future results.